Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, yours truly, Chris. Welcome. This is episode number 251. 251. Happy to be here. As always, if you want to keep up with everything that I do, you can follow me on both Twitter and Instagram at Casting for Two. Ramble Jam, which is a podcast that I host with a good buddy of mine, Josh Silverman, it's a podcast that I do where we talk for an hour, and it's always live stream on mixer.com/concal. And let's see, that happens every Wednesday, FYI, at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And, of course, you know, if you like what you're listening to, if you like the show, if you like the guests, leave a comment on the preferred platform that you listen to, whether it's iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, any of those. Let me know what I'm doing. Let me know what I'm doing. Let me know what you think. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. A lot of great events coming up pretty soon that I don't want to say, but everyone knows. A lot of conventions, so should be good, fun time. So if you're in the Austin area, look for me. I'll be around. But you know what? I should talk about my guest. My guest is a wonderful actress, writer, director, thespian, theater lover, and Marie Cummings. She wrote, directed, and is acting in a 5-time Emmy Award nominated series called Conversations in LA. It's a very fascinating project because everything is done in one shot. The entire thing you see is in one shot, and that just blows my mind. And I was so happy to chat with her about the process and just how much she's innovating and kicking butt at the same time. So I should stop talking. We should get into this episode. So cue the music, Chris. With banana, but throughout your entire life, did you have weirdo nicknames?
Anna Maria Alberghetti.
Well, Anna.
Some people call me Annie, which I never liked.
Okay.
Some people just, Anna Maria or Anne Marie the Great, which was kind of fun. Like Alexander the Great, I guess. But no, I think those were my nicknames. Gotcha. I think that's as bad as it got, or as good as it got. Really, those are pretty good.
I'm just fascinated because growing up, my name's Christopher, so people just call me Chris, and that's where it ended.
Oh, that's unusual.
Well, I never had cool, fun nicknames, and it's okay.
Never Christian?
No, never. Man, if I can go back through time, I'm gonna correct that. I'm gonna be like, no, call me Christian.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up, I'm originally from Texas, but I consider home in Oregon.
Oh, wow. I love the Northwest.
Oh.
I live in Seattle,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I lived there for a little while. I was working with the Seattle Rep theater company, and I had my own theater company for a short while as well. Those were my experimental days are always going on and on and on, but that was a period when I was doing some really radical stuff in the theater for sure. I did K2, the play.
Yeah.
And the actual Jim Wickwire, who was the first American to summit K2, who that play was based on, his story. He was in the audience when I And I played Taylor, the role Taylor, but as a woman. So it was about, two men on the ledge, basically just before, well, I mean, one of them ended up dying. He broke his leg and was stuck on the edge of a cliff. And we turned a whole space in downtown Seattle into we turned the mountain into we created the mountain where these two guys, or me and the other actor, were stuck into we made it a scaffold,
Mm.
and I was climbing on the ceiling, which was wild. Anyway, that's like one of my Northwest days. It's a great area. I've been to Oregon too. It's beautiful. It
It's
doesn't rain as much.
Right, right. Yeah, it's just so funny because, now that I'm back in Texas, in San Antonio, when it rains, the city shuts down. Like, we can't do anything.
It can't, San Antonio can't handle rain, and yet
Yeah.
there's water running through San Antonio.
Right, right. But
It's
but
like,
the it was just so funny because in Oregon it would rain and sometimes the sun would be out and it's like, okay, let's go do stuff, and we'd be out there in our hoodies but wearing pants or shorts and flip flops, and we got stuff done. So I love the mix of, okay, it's raining, let's go do stuff, versus I'm not going out there, it's raining.
right, I know that's unusual. Whereas people in Seattle actually feel, I think the people that live there for long periods of time, they feel very productive in the rain.
Right, right. I mean, I like the rain, but it's like I shower, so it's like, okay, I'm used to getting wet, so it's like, who cares?
It's hard. It's hard. I was in Seattle for 4 years, and when it rained, I just felt like, okay, I did just shower, and and I did the craziest thing, which was I ended up having a Vespa.
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah.
so it was like, okay, I'm just going to get wet all the time. Um, it was wild. It was really wild. And I've lived in Texas. I worked at the Alley Theater as an actress, which is in Houston, and then I
Mm.
moved to Austin.
Okay, yeah.
So I mean, Austin's pretty amazing. And I've been to San Antonio. I did the whole rafting. I
Uh,
went on I guess that's the thing to do there, right? To get on
uh,
a raft and float down the river.
yeah, yeah. There's I went to a music festival called Float Fest, and that is the point. You listen to music and float down a river.
I know it's fun. I mean, Austin, I gotta say, the thing I remember the most about Austin was the music scene.
Mm.
Um, some amazing, I remember going to a lot of concerts, but the one that stuck out the most for me was the Cowboy Junkies.
Hmm.
And that tells you, how long ago it was that I lived there. But the Cowboy Junkies, I remember just how amazing they were. And um, I just, I really liked in general the the feeling of being in Austin. And I did a lot of crew in Austin. I had my own uh, row
Hmm.
boat. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't even remember the name for it, but I just remember that was a big part of my life in Austin, aside from the theater, of course. I
Right.
just was in nature a lot. I had a lot of allergies in Austin. That is one place where there are more flowers and plants, and
Yeah.
everybody likes to live there, but boy, the allergies, big time, big time.
It's so funny because I mean, going living in Oregon, I would get allergies. I knew when it was going to happen. Like, precisely, okay, spring, I'm going to have allergies, and then I'm going to be fine the rest of the year. Since moving back, it feels like I'll have a month of okay, I'm fine, and then here come the allergies again. It's just, my gosh.
I know it's hard. And if I only knew about Flonase, when Flonase wasn't out at the time that I lived in Texas. Flonase, for anybody who does have allergies, seasonal allergies, I found if you take it 3 weeks before
Oh, okay, yeah.
spring, it kicks in and your body can combat all the flowers and whatever it does to your body. It's hard.
Yeah.
But Austin is so beautiful. That area is an incredible area. It's growing, isn't it?
Oh my
And
gosh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
changing. How's it changing?
So Austin is my favorite place to go to in Texas, just because I feel like it is just like Portland,
Mm, I
but
can see
with
it.
but with worse weather. That's about it. But it feels very so I'm looking for it's like a melting pot of art, film, people, food. So it's culturally it's very great just to experience those things.
Hmm. I think the food in Austin is outstanding. That Tex-Mex food
Mm.
is, I mean, there were some restaurants. And doesn't Sandra Bullock have a restaurant there?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, she lives in Austin, doesn't she?
Yes, yeah,
I
her
was in,
McConaughey.
yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know that he also, that's cool. I wasn't entirely sure about the film scene in Austin. Um, you know, I know it's out here in LA. Have you been
Yeah.
out here in Los Angeles
I
at
mean,
all?
for sure. I mean, L.A. is like there's two main spots that I know of, like L.A. and then of course Vancouver, which is like film central. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Robert Rodriguez and Richard Linklater has been doing a lot in Texas in general, and they have
Yeah.
their own studios out in Austin. So I right now I believe it's a lot more TV going on.
Okay.
But there's always indies shooting and stuff like that. So
Sure. Richard Linklater is one of my big inspirations for the work that I do.
hmm
His series of films has inspired, I think subconsciously inspired Conversations in LA, my five-time Emmy nominated series, which is a one shot.
yeah,
And, the Before Sunrise and all of that, when I first saw it, I was amazed that the camera just kept going. And I was uh, pleasantly sucked into the ongoing conversation that those two characters were having.
yeah,
And um, I love how he experiments with his work. And I mean, taking the risk that he did of shooting something over the course of, what was it, 13 years,
yeah, yeah.
different actors, and the fact that they actually stuck around. I mean, the risk of, are they actually going to stick around and make it? But, I mean, what an incredible filmmaker and revolutionary, really.
Oh yeah.
So I'm so glad you brought him up, because that's right. I remember reading about how he is based in Austin. Really, really major inspiration for me, as well as people like Ed Burns.
Okay, yeah.
Um, my favorite New York actor, writer, directors, but Julie Delpy as well. Julie Delpy, she is an incredible writer. I would have to say she has inspired me so much. I just watch a lot of, I tend to watch a lot more film than I do TV. And I
hmm
think a lot of my work is, um, it's been said that, because I'm merging theater onto film, because my experience is mostly theater,
hmm
and this is my first digital drama series, but a lot of my work is inspired more by film than television. So it's just on a subconscious level, I'm always picking up on what other people are, how they're going about what they do. And Ed Burns,
Right.
especially in terms of his small crew, he likes to work with a tight, small crew. And that's pretty much, he has these tutorials even on YouTube that I'm so inspired by. He loves to talk about what he does and how he does it and how to market and sell a film. He's really pretty incredible.
Nice.
Have you ever talked to Ed Burns?
I have not. I have not. I will as soon as we hop. I'm gonna make a. I have a list of people to talk to. For sure, Linklater is on there, but I'll make Ed Burns right under
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But before we talk about the drama series that you do,
Mm,
I want to find out more about you
yeah, sure.
because I love actors. I love acting. I love watching it, seeing it, all that good stuff. For you, when did you know theater? Well, I'll just say acting, and then you can go into theater. Is something you said, you know what, this is what I want to pursue.
Well, I think it was when I was in high school
hmm
and I took myself out to audition for Anne Frank, the play.
Yeah.
And I had a very strong connection spiritually to that role, but also just, and when you're young, when you're 15 years old, you know, I don't even know what was going through my mind exactly.
Hmm.
I just knew that I was moved by the fact that this was a real life character, that this was somebody, that this play was written and based on somebody real.
Hmm.
And I read her diary and I was thinking, wow, I connect to the way she thinks. Now, I mean, this is pretty profound for a 15-year-old because, the way she was thinking about the world under such hardship was, I don't even know how I connected, but I was moved.
Hmm.
And I remember before I even auditioned for it, there was a museum exhibit on Anne Frank and her story. And I walked through the museum as this young person, and I learned about the Holocaust. And I mean, I was emotionally devastated
Hmm.
by the turn of events. And yet the fact that this young girl could still have good thoughts about humanity. So I took myself and I auditioned for it, and I got the role. And I remember doing it, and it was not a small theater company. It was a big theater in Hollywood, in Florida. And it just felt like second nature for me. It felt like I embodied her. And I felt so close to that. And I was studying, even at that age, I was studying Stanislavski. I was studying method acting on my own. I had all of the books and I was reading about it and I was envisioning myself as Anne. And I was looking and collecting all the photographs of Anne Frank, and I created my own board of Anne Frank pictures with her father and with her sister. And I cut out moments from her diary that made me connect in a method type of way
Hmm.
to this character. And I would look at all of those pictures before I would go on stage. So, I'm still a method actor today. I embody other techniques, whatever it takes to feel in the role. But for a 15-year-old, I think that was pretty profound, but
Yeah.
it was a great way for me to start, I think, my work because I was starting with such a real, I mean, it's hard to take a character that's based on fiction, but when you can take a role like some of the greats do, you know, when you're taking a role that's based on reality, you can ground yourself pretty quickly when you have that information to fall back on. You know what I'm
Right. And so I'm because I'm fascinated with the how people get into character because
saying?
it takes a special type of person to access a part of their brain and lose themselves and become something or someone entirely different. And I'm so glad you mentioned method because I've always wanted to talk to somebody who walks down that path.
Hmm.
Is it hard for you when you get just become a certain character? Is it hard for you to step out of that character and become you again?
Absolutely. I think this is the case I don't want to speak for other actors, but
Hmm.
I've talked to other actors about this, and I know there's always this period of coming down, so to
Yeah.
speak. Certainly for stage actors, because stage actors are doing this 8 days a week. And that is very, very difficult. You're almost never out of it. You're almost never out of the role.
Uh-huh.
And that's hard because you're living it. Imagine these Broadway actors, off-Broadway actors that are doing it. And I've done that, those
Hmm.
8 or 9 shows a week. And then when the show is done, there's a period of um, several days to a week where you're feeling kind of unsure of who you are,
Mm.
because you have been living the life of a different character for some period. And, also just from a film standpoint, I think of Charlize Theron and what she did when
Yeah.
she embodied that murderer. I watched interviews with her. I was fascinated with the fact that, number one, she would take on a role like that and she totally transformed herself.
Yeah.
And to some extent, that's what I will do when I've played other roles that are so far from me. However, I will say that, my hats go off to her, because she took on a character that's, she created some empathy
Right.
in a character that we hate. She played the anti-hero with some with a hint of, well, that three-dimensional range of where we got to actually maybe empathize with
Mhm.
a woman who was doing some very terrible things. Um, and that takes great skill as an actress, and she did it. And so, I look for people like that who are capable and willing to, I mean, look, I'm not saying that we should uh, necessarily have compassion for a murderer, but I think everybody has a history and a story, and I believe people aren't born bad.
Right.
I don't think it's in our genes to be murderers, no matter what anybody says, um, which could open up a whole nother conversation, because I was a journalist for a period in my life, and I had a column called Instant Message where I interviewed teens, and the impetus to do that was the Columbine story.
Okay.
And, I often, as an artist, am curious as to why people do the things they do.
Right.
And I was and I think that that just ties in with acting and also writing. Um, I think the best actors and directors, writers are going to help us see the side that we don't necessarily go to automatically. I think it's easy for us to categorize human beings, bad people,
Hmm.
into monsters.
Correct.
But the great writers are going to take us to another side that we maybe will understand why they are or did what they did.
Hmm.
And I think Charlize Theron did a really great job. I think there are a lot of other artists who have done the same thing. Some of our greatest artists out there.
No, when you say that, I mean the Charlize Theron, absolutely. The other person that comes to my mind is Bryan Cranston, who did Breaking Bad. And
Well,
it was just hearing him talk about Walt, how by the end of the show he despised him,
mm,
and it was just amazing that he had to play. It didn't start out that way, of course, but by the
right.
end he was just like, I'm done with this guy. I don't like this guy. Have you ever had an experience like that in the theater where you're just like, I this is eating away at me. I need to like, I can't wait for this character.
Yeah. Well, I just to comment about Walt,
Yeah.
and that just to, before I talk about my own, I mean, I know so many people love that show, and I
Yeah.
am a fan of Breaking Bad. Um, I think that was just so beautifully written, and what a great set of circumstances. Somebody who wants to do something good, for his family, but does something bad to do it. Um,
Right.
it's a character that I'm sure despises his own actions after a while because it gets disgusting. It just turns really ugly for his set of circumstances. Um, but no, I think that when I played Antigone, um, I saw her argument,
Mhm.
and that was with Jiva Theater in upstate New York in the Cleveland Playhouse, and it was with Jason and actor Jason Culp, um, who played Creon. And we did the Jean Ennui version, and a character like that is a very passionate young woman who has her ideals and ideas,
Mhm.
And it can only go on for so long, where you have to really believe in your character. You have to set aside your own opinions and your own feelings about that character and how you think differently, but you have to attach yourself very strongly to who they are. I mean, there's a part of me that relates to Antigone and related when I did it
Hmm.
to Antigone as a young woman. So I had to basically amplify that side of myself and then quiet down and not dumb down, but put it to bed, the other side
Yeah.
of me that argued with that that other, why is she just like this? But fortunately, and I think that great casting directors and directors are going to cast, and it certainly is the way I work as a director. I like to cast people who I think relate to the role,
Mm.
who are going to identify the most, uh, as opposed to, I'm not going to cast somebody I think it's going to be a far-fetched idea for them to connect to that character.
Right.
And so I do think I was cast as Antigone because I connected to that character so much. The director saw it in me. And I see that very quickly with the actors. I mean, I work with casting directors on Conversations in LA, but I am the first to see it.
Yeah.
And I saw it with the actor and my co-star, Gustavo Velasquez. The funny story is I saw him in a Starbucks sitting next to me. And I do operate on a very subconscious level. I was looking to cast a young guy for this long before this was a series. And I saw something in him right away before I even saw his reel.
Hmm.
But when I saw his reel, there was about 15 seconds in there where I was like, okay, I think this is the one for this role. And I feel that way about Justin Kirk, who's in season 3. I feel that way about a lot of people that I've worked with on Conversations in LA. I feel that way about Brett Benner, Sterling Jones, uh, Rebecca Metz, Mark Lewis, everybody, Jack Plotnick, Willie Garson, who's come on
Yeah.
Sex and the City he's perfect. Christy Faison and Jamie Rudofsky, who are our new casting directors, it's almost like they have my same eyes, because when I started talking about the role Michael Miller, Christy was right there with me when she talked to me about Justin Kirk. She gave me a list of actors and I went through them all on my own. And I was thinking, wow, Justin Kirk, gosh, I think there's something here. I think he's the one.
Hmm.
And I went to Christy and she was like, I couldn't agree with you more. And I know him and I'm going to call him and I'm going to talk to him. And, the thing about Conversations in LA, and I think why Justin is involved in this, is because this is, he's a theater actor.
Hmm.
He's a theater and film TV actor. He gets this work right away. And for him, it was second nature for him to be on set with us. And I think any theater actor, it's gonna feel very natural for them to have these long shots. They can keep it
Right.
going. They're used to doing it sometimes for 2 full hours on stage.
Right. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to the series is that just because I grew up very traditional film guy. Now that I've gone through what I've gone through, I love when people mix things up. So oneers, just the technical side of it really interests me. For you, I'm going to talk. I'm curious about the behind the scenes aspect right now. Was it hard for you to find a DP cameraman that could do this for you?
Yes. And that is a great question. My DP is actually Gustavo, and my DP are actually here with me right now. They're working, doing some editing. But I will say this, that The answer to that question is absolutely. Now, when you have a studio budget like
Hmm.
Alejandro for, Birdman,
Yeah.
it's one thing to ask a DP to memorize big chunks,
Hmm.
and know exactly where they're going and know every line cue that they need to know. Sebastian Heinrich has been my main DP from the beginning. We worked on season 2 also with Roland Andre Miller, but Sebastian Heinrich is taking the lead again in season 3, and I'm telling you, it is a challenge
Hmm.
because first of all, uh, most DPs will say to me, "What you're doing is crazy."
You're right.
And I've heard this 1,000 times already. When I was first interviewing DPs, they, in the beginning, when this was not recognized by the daytime Emmys, people were saying, "You're crazy. I'm not going to come in here and do this on your budget
Hmm.
for, you want me to memorize 16 pages of dialogue basically, and you want me to break it down into chunks, and you want me to learn your very complicated blocking. And nobody does this, by the way, in Hollywood. So why should I? I
Right.
mean, this is a lot of what I heard. But, kudos to Roland and Sebastian Heinrich for sticking it out with me because, what I'm doing is changing the landscape of cinematography.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm not interested. It's hard for me to look at cuts. It's hard for me to watch film when I see the emotional through line being cut
Mm. Yeah.
of an actor. I like to see that continuous camera movement, which is what this is. And I like to see the environment, and I like to catch all the moments that you don't catch when we're doing cutaways. So it is really theater on film. It's my version of theater on film.
Hmm.
And I watch movies when I have time because I love to watch actors work. And I have my favorite actors out there, like Marion Cotillard and Matthias Schoenaerts. Those are,
Yeah.
I want to watch them. But what I don't want to see is the camera cutting on them. I never want to see that. So behind the scenes, we do about 8 to 10 camera rehearsals before our shoot. And sometimes we actually will get a take before our shoot day
Hmm.
because we're ready. But I usually, I get my camera guy, my DP, up to speed first with all the blocking. First I get the actors blocked and we know exactly what we're doing. Then I bring the DP in, and then I bring in one by one, I bring my crew in. Then I bring in sound because the sound guy has to learn the camera blocking too.
Right.
Generally, sometimes depending on our space, if it's like a therapy office, the sound guy might be mixing in the room next door. He might not be following my DP.
Hmm.
If we're like we were just for season 3, we did a shoot with Tara Strong and Justin Kirk and myself. I blocked this around an entire neighborhood in Marina Del Rey. We went from the beach to across Speedway to Pacific Avenue, then down Pacific Avenue. We went down Topsail, and then we took a left onto Speedway, and then we went onto the beach, and then down Outrigger. I mean, it was crazy. It was like, a 25-minute scene that went through an entire neighborhood. I'm sure all the neighbors there were like, them again? We were out there rehearsing, and it was my DP first, and then I had my sound guy come in who had to learn, I mean, it was easier for my sound guy because he had to just follow, but he
Right.
had to anticipate and he had to run, way ahead in certain moments because otherwise it would have been very difficult for him to be sound mixing while following my DP. But there are times when, like in season 2 as well, Roland Andre Miller was running full speed ahead at moments when the actors were running. And I, a couple times I would be holding the back of his pants when he would run backward, and I would be guiding him so he wouldn't run into a tree or whatever. But we had a very, very choreographed scene, which is certainly, I think, for people viewing exciting, but they never, when they watch it, I often wonder, do they when they watch this, do they realize what's going on behind the scenes?
Mhm.
Do they have any idea? So we actually have on our website, conversationsinla.com, we have our watch interviews page where people can see a lot of our behind the scenes so that they actually see how crazy it is for us. And physically, honestly, so physically exhausting. I've had my DP, I'll say this, Roland, when we did Compton Girl, he would come on set a couple times and say, I don't know how many takes I have in me. I'm exhausted from yesterday. And, and I would have to say to him, you know what? I sprained my ankle and I'm here. Okay. If I'm here, you're coming out there with me. We got to do it. We got to get this in. So, we were all physically so exhausted. Even Mike Winfield, who got an Emmy nomination for Guest Actor this year, for season 2, he did an episode with his co-star, Gustavo Velasquez. It was all along the LA River. It was 20 minutes straight on the LA River, but we filmed that in the dead center of heat here in LA in an LA summer, and we were always drenched when we finished that. And it was a walking scene, but it was there was some running in that as well towards the end, and it got really intense. And it was hard. I've learned which sound mixers I can use when I need them to move fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Learn which DPs, Sebastian is in great shape. He's a tennis athlete as well. And my actors are in great shape. Gustavo is, very fit. For the most part, I think I'm pretty healthy too. But I know we all have to be pretty athletic to do this work, which kind of, for anyone who's known me from my theater days, it doesn't surprise them, I'm sure, because like I told you, the K2 play
Yeah.
did, I was climbing the ceiling with crampons, you know. I was inspired by Anne Bogart, who anyone who knows Anne Bogart, one of the greatest American directors of our time, she created what's called the viewpoints. And, this is a very physical approach towards theater. And
Mhm.
so I like to bring that into my work. You can't ask actors to fake it.
Right.
If people are running in a scene, I want them running. If people are driving a car like we do in season 1 and in the start of season 3, the opener, we're driving. We're actually driving. Which means we have to, safety first, and we have to be very, very careful about what we do and how we do it and the time of day that we do these things.
Mhm.
We are very, very cautious about everything. We have people shadowing our DP to make sure that he doesn't run into a trash can and doesn't cross the street when there's a car coming, things like that. Very important. But I believe in, making things as real as possible.
Yeah.
So, there are a lot of people who have inspired my work. Anne Bogart, is a revolutionary director. Tina Landau, these are incredible people. I mean, Doug Hughes, who directed Doubt on Broadway, when he directed me, I started to, it was still traditional and conventional in the way that he was directing, but he got me into that mindset of what a director is. There are a lot of other directors out there who've inspired my work. As a writer as well, I don't know how many, I read hundreds of plays before I moved to Los Angeles. I had a script reading committee with my theater company, and we would read hundreds, and we would talk about all these playwrights and their style and their work. And, I was always inspired by the unique playwrights like Carol Churchill, who's really a revolutionary playwright. She always comes up with something different that no one has ever done before. So, I like to have that mindset when I'm thinking of working as a director and working as a writer too, because, there's so much content out there. And the thing that I can sort of hang my hat on with this project, which I think is really my style, are one-shots.
Mhm.
You know, I probably will always want to incorporate this. I was inspired by the movie Victoria, which
Mm.
was shot in 23 different locations from the hours of 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. in Berlin. And it's a one shot. It is amazing. If anyone, if you've never seen that movie, it got applauded. And what I really love about that, really, really love too, is that the director did the courtesy, given that very, very complicated film. The DP was, given that first credit because the DP, I mean, imagine if you will, 23 locations in 2 hours
Hmm. Wow.
and covering that ground. And they did, I think, 3 takes only of that
Wow.
film. I read that, only 3. And they selected, I think, the last take. So, I'm always impressed with people that are doing kind of, look, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
And you have to brace yourself for the difficult. If you want it to be recognized, it's going to be a challenge. So, I have a very brave team from the actors to certainly my actors are brave to my crew. And I think they would all say whenever they get a call from me, they know that they're going to they need to start drinking the Gatorade.
There we- it's time to get that cardio work.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get into shape here. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I love it. I love the process. And I think that that's what this is all about. It's about the process. It's not just about the end result. I mean, there's got to be an interesting process to get to that end result.
Exactly, exactly. And like I said earlier, it's all film started because people wanting to push the envelope and do something different. So as life evolves, so must film.
Right. And as technology
Yeah.
evolves, I mean, I work with a lot of drones, because they're lightweight and nimble and, a lot of handheld drones. And I think a lot of filmmakers are embracing technology. I mean, Tangerine was, as you probably know,
Yeah.
was filmed with an iPhone. I mean, how great is that? I really loved what they did with that movie, and
I
I
think
couldn't wait to watch it.
I think the newest Steven Soderbergh movie was filmed on an iPhone as well.
Which one was that?
Unsane or something like that. It
Uh-huh.
came out a couple weeks ago, but yeah, I feel like that was also one of those types of movies.
Right, right. Yeah, and I mean, just from just from a purely writing standpoint, the difficulty for me is I know I have a one shot and that these are one shots. So from the writer's point of view, I have to tailor each of these episodes with a certain amount of intensity,
Mm-hmm.
um, or the opposite. And I play with the opposite. Sometimes the actors will say to me, "Gosh, this is so simple. Are you sure we can get away with this?" Well, the answer is absolutely, because it's going to be one or the other. If I've got a one shot, you know, why not have those actors kind of quiet for 15 minutes? Do we need to see always that intense action? So it's one or the other, it seems, for seasons 1, 2, and now as we venture into season 3. Um, I'm always pushing that envelope with this, and I really can't wait to see what else happens. I have, and for the first time in my third season, I have producing partners, Mogul Studios, and Mogul is kind of an interesting uh, company to partner with because they are not Hollywood at all.
Hmm.
This is a Fortune 100 company, and the CEO, Tiffany Pham, she is a techie. She taught herself, she's an autodidact like I am. She taught herself how to code, and
Oh,
she
okay.
created her own platform on mogul.com, which is a platform for women around the world to help each other find jobs and find jobs themselves, connect with companies, connect with other women. But she's been touted by Entrepreneur and Forbes, and they're backed by the Hearst company,
Mhm.
and Mogul Studios this is their first project under the name Mogul Studios. It's a division of Mogul. So, for us, this is really incredible. I am so proud to be associated with them, because it just feels like a nice fit for who I am as a person, as a woman, who wants to support other women, in the industry, and see women flourish at a time like this, especially where there's that whole, all kinds of different movements coming out right now.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And for the people at home who want to follow you, follow the show, catch up on season 1 and 2, watch the third season when it's available, where can they do that?
Well, they can do that at conversationsinla.com first, because that's really going to help people figure out everything. Season 1 is on iTunes and Amazon Prime. Season 2 is on Amazon. It's moving to Amazon Prime. And season 3, we hope will be released on a major platform like HBO,
Mm.
Netflix, Hulu, or Showtime. I mean, we really want to move this along, and continue it in that direction. And then, we have other things in store, but I don't want to give away all the secrets. But the fact is, all of our social media can be found on the homepage of conversationsinla.com, the Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. Instagram is a great way to follow us on a daily basis, but it's exciting times, I mean, why not go all the way? We've just got so many wonderful people involved in this.
Nice, nice. And I feel I want to thank you for being on the show
Oh,
because
my God, thank you for having me. I'm so
I
honored.
I feel like we could do 2 hours on just characters.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
but that just means you have to come back anytime you want. All right.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm happy to come back, and really for anybody out there in the industry, you can shoot me an email at mediavisionproductions@gmail.com. I'm always happy to reach out and hear from other people who are interested, who want to talk to me about the technique and everything that I'm doing. I'd love it.
There we go. There we go. So, but I'll let you go back to editing or writing or taking naps or whatever you were going to do.
I do that too a lot. Put my head down on the couch all the time.
There we go. But you have a wonderful day, all right?
You too, and hello to everyone out in San Antonio. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.